In our context section, we're going back to the politics around colonization. Tami refers to the colonization of South Africa. He talks about the Dutch, the Huguenots, and the British, and that's a quote from what he says. You've got an illustration there talking about the Dutch East India Company, established a colony in 1652 as a refreshment station. 36 years later, the Huguenots settled here. They were Protestant Christians. France was a Roman Catholic country. They were persecuted and they fled and they came here. Many went to the Netherlands, some came to us. The British sent forces to the Cape in 1795. Remember, we're into the Napoleonic Wars. They remained in control till 1803. Impact of war in Europe meant that the control of the Cape was in dispute, and then in 1814 the British were confirmed in control. However, the Dutch had free access. Tami also mentions the old Union and the proud young Republic. South Africa became a union on the 31st of May 1910 when British and Afrikaners agreed to work together. The union gave self-determination to Afrikaners, but was met with hostility by black people because they were excluded. So what followed? Political unrest and struggle. Soon after 1912, the South African Native National Congress was established and renamed ANC in 1923. On the 31st of May 1961, South Africa became a republic, separating itself from the British Commonwealth and promoting policies that supported apartheid. And then Tami mentions key dates in our struggle history. The first one he mentions is the Congress of the People in 1955. It was at this Congress that the Freedom Charter was adopted. Professor Z.K. Matthews called a national convention at which all groups might be represented to consider our national problems on an all-inclusive basis in order to draw up a Freedom Charter for the democratic South Africa of the future. There were 3,000 people at the Congress. ANC, South African Indian Congress, Congress of Democrats, South African Congress of Trade Unions, and Chief Albert Luthuli, who was the president of the ANC, said, "Why will this assembly be significant and unique? Its size, I hope, will make it unique. But above all, its multi-racial nature and its noble objectives, noble, admirable, something that you can really respect and look up to, and its noble objectives will make it unique because it will be the first time in the history of our multi-racial nation that its people from all walks of life will meet as equals, irrespective of race, color, and creed, to formulate a freedom charter for all people in the country." Tami also mentions Sharpeville, 21st of March 1960. ANC and the PAC organized an anti-pass campaign. The plan was that black people would arrive at police stations without their passes to force the police to arrest them. And the idea was that so many black people would be arrested that basically the country would just stop. PAC President Robert Sobukwe announced that the PAC's campaign would start on Monday, the 21st of March. And he said, "African people have entrusted their whole future to us, and we have sworn that we are leading them not to death, but to life abundant. My instructions, therefore, are that our people must be taught now and continuously that in this campaign we are going to observe absolute non-violence." And I'm sure you know what happened. The policemen presumably were frightened. From everything that I've read about the black crowds around that police station, they were in a good mood. It wasn't a bad feeling. There was almost a kind of liberation. You know, we're going to destroy the passes and we're going to stop this country and freedom is around the corner. And of course they were fired on. And we have 2 minutes of shooting, 69 dead, 180 seriously wounded. It was after this that the ANC and the PAC gave up peaceful protests and adopted a policy of armed struggle. And then a date, I don't think you need to read the note. I'm sure you understand the significance of the 16th of June, 1976. It was an unstable time, and the emerging black consciousness philosophy was transforming the way young black people thought. It boosted their self-esteem, and the introduction of Afrikaans was a real problem. According to Steve Biko, the difficulty of coping with a foreign language in schools caused an inferiority complex. He added that the language problem inculcates in many black students a sense of inadequacy. You tend to think that it's not just a matter of language, you tend to tie it up with intelligence. He's saying that if you can't speak the language fluently, you're made to feel stupid, and that was a huge problem. And it's such an important date because this really was a turning point.